Welcome, everyone. This is Plum Needles, and you're listening to LOTRO Players News, where we take a look at laces in LOTRO and hear LOTRO players. And this week, I'm joined by Krister
Hello.
and Cinders.
Hello.
Hello, everyone. And we have a few more release notes. Or in this case,
There
it's
you go.
more like a hot fix note.
Oh, that doesn't sound too bad.
You
Hot
All
fix
right.
could?
sounds
Yeah.
great.
This is for update 46.2.1. Here are the release notes for update 46.2.1. King's Parade Hotfix 1, released on Wednesday, February 18th, 2026. And these all relate to UI scaling. Lua support for UI scaling has been disabled due to the need for additional compatibility development. We will be working to reduce the requirements for Lua order of operations, particularly for set parent, set visible, set size, and set rotation. We intend to bring this future development to upcoming Bullroarer previews. The new Lua UI.window functions have been temporarily removed and should not be used. Set scaling origin point, set scaling origin, get scaling origin point, register for global scaling, and unregister for global scaling and set scale. Fixed a bug that caused certain UI elements to reposition incorrectly when the screen size changed. This includes when switching focus to and from a full screen client. And dungeon maps correctly show the player arrow again.
You
All right,
almost
so
get the
those.
feeling they maybe should have tested some of this a little bit more before they rolled it out.
Well, sort of.
A stitch in
It's
time
the problem.
saves 9, only,
Yeah, the other problem is that well, for Lua programming, it's a little bit tougher because you're asking outside, someone not internal to do the testing because the ones who are going to be using Lua are probably going to be external people.
Yes, I'm just saying that if they're going to bring it to Bull Roar previews, it maybe should have been in Bull Roar previews before rolling out.
I,
As
I
or
agree.
in
Yeah, you're
Bull
right. It
Roar
probably would
previews
have
a
been.
little
Yeah.
bit longer just to make sure that it works. Because some of these things feel like maybe they're in a hurry because they want to roll out new stuff
Well,
and they're rolling it out poorly and then they're having to take it back and then wait to bring it back and then it's still not working.
yeah,
They pull it out and it's
yeah.
like, just
Remember,
slow
remember
down
that the stuff that's giving trouble was the Lua support,
on this
and the
one.
Lua support was something that there was a lot of pressure to get out. I have a feeling, from mod makers.
Yes, I'm just going
Is
to
going to be my
say
guess.
it's clearly not working out to have rolled it out that fast.
Well, yeah, perhaps.
And this is not the first time in this last year where stuff has come out. It's been super buggy. They've pulled it back. They've rolled it out again. It's still been super buggy. They've pulled it back. And it's like, at that point, you might as well have just held it for a couple more weeks and worked on it a little bit longer and had a quality rollout. Like, I don't know.
Well,
That's
in any
my
case,
thought as somebody who tries really hard to not have to take stuff back because it was flawed or, comments or things like that. Like sometimes that little bit of extra time really keeps you covered. I don't know.
well. Anyway, those are the changes for this one. We can hope that they get that all straightened out in the near future. Which brings us into Bulber Update 47 Beta number 2, where we have some tweaks and hopefully they get everything nice and fixed in here. Okay, first off, what did they change in UI scaling in here? Probably Lua support for UI scaling They talk about being disabled due to needing additionals. We were working on so it looks like that the that they don't quite have anything new in Bulwer. All they did in Bulwer was to remove that on the Bulwer site also. So it looks like they're not ready to test a new version of that quite yet. So let's go into classes and skills. Exhaustion from to arms effects duration was increased from 25 seconds to 35 seconds. For the brawler, vulnerability now reduces enemy critical chance rather than incoming damage. And strike is one now lasts 15 seconds and grants larger buff when solo, but a smaller buff when affecting allies. Okay. Now the vulnerability now reduces enemy critical chance rather than incoming damage. Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how to interpret what was being said there. All right, let's just go on. For the burglar, Bloodletter's melee damage buff reduced from 3/6/9% to 1/2/3%. That sounds like a nerf.
Pretty sure that is a nerf.
Yes, and burglar damage reduced by 5%. That definitely is a nerf.
Yeah.
For champions, Raging Blade damage increased by 25%. For the Guardian, now I did cover last week's, with your comments. Thank you,
Yes.
Cinders, for the comments that you provided us. So we were able to go through all that last week.
Happy
We
to
do
help.
have two. We do have two changes way at the bottom in here that are new. Guardian's saved trait tree configurations have been reset due to changes to traits.
That tracks. Annoying,
That track,
but makes sense.
but tracks. Okay. Smashing Strike's bleed now pulses every 3 seconds rather than every 2 seconds.
Lame. But, I mean, it's still the same bleed. It's just going to take longer to do what it's supposed to.
Yeah, that's the question. Does it have the same number of pulses? So
long as it has the same number of pulses, I won't complain. They've really got to not nerf.
For the Hunter, Hunter damage reduced by 5%.
And they are pissed.
I can imagine. Non-blue spec hunters will now be able to build focus while moving using skills that generate +1 focus on use, even if they are starting with 0 focus. Focus reduction over time still applies when non-blue spec hunters, but the window is now applied more consistently on an interval rather than immediate when the hunter first gains focus. Okay.
That means nothing to me.
I know. It's like, whoop. All right. For the Lore Master, Flame of Honor's AoE Wizard Fire damage no longer hits your current target twice.
Bummer.
Oh, you mean it was doing double damage by accident?
It doesn't say if it does double damage. I just, it's a nerf if it doesn't hit the target.
Well, yes, but
I haven't played my Lore Master for a while. I'm just saying. That's kind of funny that it was hitting the current target twice. Like, how did they track that down?
I don't know, but since I don't use Wizard's Fire, I guess it's sort of not affecting me all that much. Searing Embers damage reduced by 10%.
Boo.
Murder Crow's potency increased from 25% to 30%.
Yay.
Cooldown increased from 2 minutes to 3 minutes.
Boo.
and duration reduced from 20 seconds to 17 seconds.
Boo.
All right. So a shorter window, but a large, but more potent during the time of the window.
And longer to reset to use it again.
Reset to use it again. I have a feeling that's because between the brawlers, the captains, and the lore masters in the group, people were ripping through bosses.
I have not heard people were ripping through bosses at all.
Okay. Fair point. I mean,
Like normally when they start being able to rip through bosses, you start seeing them ripping through like tier 2 stuff. And I've not seen anybody ripping through tier 1 anything.
well, seeing what happened to my group last night when we were trying to do the 3-player instance,
Mhm.
and the only ripping through were the enemies ripping through us.
I'm just saying. I don't think
Yeah.
there's any issue with ability to race through the content.
All right. Major command to arms buff potency was increased from 10% to 12.5%.
I guess that's cool, especially since they've increased your exhaustion if you've had it.
For the Mariner, buoying winds potency reduced from 5% to 2.5%.
And Krister, cheers.
Yes. And west wind cooldown reduced from 90 seconds to 80 seconds. For the Mistral, Chord of Salvation is no longer immediate when in dissonance or melody stance. Chord remains immediate in resonance. For improved Chord of Salvation, Skill Tooltip has been cleaned up slightly, and its AoE effect now both have a range of 20 meters. And Chord of My Salvation healing increased by 50%.
I'm sure they're happy about that because that sounds like a self heal.
Yeah, that sounds like a self heal. For the Warden, Warden damage increased by 5%.
Yay!
Yes. I don't think we're going to hear any Wardens complain about that, that's for sure.
No.
Plus 10% damage for some shield gambits.
Yay!
Okay. Plus 20 to 40% damage from Wall of Steel and Bull's Rush line gambits.
I think that would also deserve a cheer, but I'm done cheering.
Okay. Wall of Steel and Boar's Rush gambits now have short diminishing return effects, lowering the damage if the same gambit is used multiple times in a short period. So in other words, they're increasing the potency of it, but they don't want people spamming those in order to be super powerful.
It just says the same one. So you could go Wall of Steel, Boar's Rush. Wall of Steel, Boar's Rush.
It depends what the period of time is.
I'm just saying.
All right. Shield Up, Ready Blade, and Shield Mastery gambits all now deal AoE damage.
Sounds good.
Plus 1 Spirit Virtue damage over time pulses.
That sounds good too.
The Warden's Triumph gambit has been removed. Its effect now always actively passively when Warden's Triumph trait is active. Okay, the Warden Triumph gambit is removed. Okay. Now, is always passive. So in other words, it turned Warden's Triumph into a passive. I'm trying to remember what Warden's Triumph is. I know you would think that as many times as I've played.
I mean, it's not like it pops up the name, does it? It just pops up the sequence.
No. You just remember, you know?
Right.
And you go, okay, so Warden's Triumph is A triumphant blow, allowing the warden to deal even more damage, plus 3% melee damage, plus 3%. Okay, so it's a self. Okay, it's a gambit. Sword fist. Sword. Dit. All right. A triumphant blow, allowing the warden to deal even more damage, plus 3% damage from the range or terrible pulses, and I think. Hmm, I think that's one I've been forgetting to use recently, but I think that might have been the one that when I was remembering it was the bane of the shepherd of filth. So, well, I've been forgetting about it recently, so I guess that's not going to be a major problem. So it looks like the extra buffs that it gives you are going to turn into a passive. So plus 3% melee damage, plus 3% range damage, and plus 1 warding gambit if you have the trait. Okay. I guess we could live with that. And determination specific threat effects have been improved on several gambits. All right, if you're tanking, I guess that could be useful. I wonder if that means that I can finally take mobs off of my soldier who somehow does 1/4 of the damage that I do, but has 5 times the threat.
Doubtful.
All right. So for classes, deeds, and adventure areas, Z fighting in Klager has been fixed. Rendering physics issues in the Wailing Hold have been fixed. The haunt of Kiduvala exists in the correct locations when leaving from non-instance versions of that space. And mounted combat skills will no longer be intermediately available in Cardolan and Swanfleet. They will be unavailable throughout these areas. No comment on that?
No.
Nope. Okay. So let's go to instances and skirmishes. On Kothral, the Wailing Hold, the Smashed Bones ability has been reworked for bosses 1 and 3. The skill still stacks, but now is cleansable. However, at harder difficulties, it starts at a higher stack. For boss 2, on respawn, add waves should no longer spawn in solo and tier 1 unintentionally, following a wipe. Dungeon maps correctly show the player arrow again. Good. Ekal Nebi, the Fallen Palace. Ratuko, the Bloody's lockup skill, will no longer target players in support specializations such as Yoline Burglar, Hunter, Lore Master, or Mariner. They also have several changes to the raid, but since the raid is a new item, I'm not going to read that since it's not relevant to the main server yet. All right, so I want to go through what it said on the treasure case of Harum Khana because I ran that last night for the first time in a 3-player group. And my comment on it is this intended to be an ultra hard, impossible for the casual player to complete quest instance? Because if it is, then you succeeded quite well at it. Anyway, because it was brutal.
You just need to believe in yourself, Pine Leaf.
I believe in myself. Oh, yeah, it left us crying last night. Anyway, but they do have some changes that are coming from it. Sandblast has been corrected from a 60-meter radius explosion to a 10-meter radius. I am sure that Sandblast. I know we had a lot of stuff relating to Sandblast and stuff like this, but yeah, I think that's one of the things that was brutalizing us last night. So it looks like it wasn't intended to have a 60-meter radius. Okay. Summon grasping shadows now have more threatening skills. I am trying to remember what those grasping shadows. Wait a minute. Didn't it? Oh no, I am confusing it with something else. Yeah, I can't remember what the grasping shadows were doing in that particular
See, they
one.
were no threat at all. So yeah, they should have. Thought they gave them more threatening tools to use.
It didn't help that after that one, we were running. I was in an ESO group that was running this some sort of uh, some sort of arena thing. Was it Dragon Keep or something like that? I can't remember the exact name of it. And there was this. I think there was one section of this where you had these grasping things coming out of the ground also. So I was like, the two things are blending together in my brain, I think. Yes. Barlat's Overseer's Impaling Strike skill now has an induction and deals damage in a frontal arc. And Barlat's Enrage Timer effect should not start until the fight begins properly. So that could be one problem that we had. Is it could be that we were getting enraged to death because it prematurely started enraging. That's a possibility. Anyway, let's head on to PvP, where we have replaced an irrelevant reward with a relevant reward for a monster players in the quest Counter Assault.
I mean, relevant rewards are better.
Yes. I mean, what were they?
I don't know what the rewards were, but relevant is usually better than something that's irrelevant.
Yes. I mean, yes, we will give you. How about? Yeah, I'm trying to think.
Here's
I'm
two
trying to think
travel
something that only players can use and monsters can't use. I don't know monster play well enough in order to remember what those could be. Etmore's bows are now correctly set with a minimum level of 160. Flipping Tirithral as a monster will now reward you with the treasure key for the location. Further, flipping control of the location as a player will now reward you with the treasure key for the locations. We have fixed the reversed occurrence of the reward. Okay. Well, you mean they were but they're giving the wrong keys to them?
It looks like it.
Yes.
Here's the treasure key the monster needs, player.
Constructed gates at Tirithral and Lugazag now will be reset after the tower boss is defeated. There was a possibility that the doors would not reset and immediately retaking the location would keep the state of the constructed doors. And adjusted the Marta purchased mitigation potions to match the store versions. Okay.
I don't know about that part, but.
As for miscellaneous, fixed a bug that caused certain UI elements to reposition incorrectly when the screen size changed. This includes when switching. Oh, actually, that miscellaneous one was already went live. Okay, so the last three items were all. Oh, actually, fix a bug caused the inspect display viewport to scale uncontrollably when altered by a custom user skin. And the next one is probably something that I've been begging for, and that's cursor scaling has more increments. I hope that mean they have intermediary increments as opposed to adding larger and larger increments.
That would be nice.
Yes,
does it go from barely seen to taking up 50% of your monitor?
Well, I think I said in a previous episode that okay, I appreciate that we have 1 and 2, but it'd be really nice to also have a 1.5.
Yes, Sans and I were actually just talking about that before the podcast. We were talking about UI scaling, and she was saying that she goes, well, when they rolled out this new The latest update, all of the text got smaller. Of course, everybody wants to scale everything up. But I was like, yeah, but there's not a lot of room between 1 and 2 if you don't have 1.5.
Yeah.
She's like, you wanted 1.5? I was like, no, I didn't realize there was a change in the size of the text because I can still read it just fine. I said, but Pineleaf definitely wanted to have a 1.5 for whatever he was scaling.
For the cursor.
I couldn't remember what it was you were scaling, and so I told her, I was like, whatever he was scaling, he wanted that 1.5. Because 1 was too small and 2 was too big.
Yeah, that was most definitely the case. Oh, that finishes up our release notes for this week. So we have now the NAD Global 7 Q4 report. And you may be saying, what in the world is an NAD 7 Q4 report? What does that have to do with LOTRO? And this is in its Q4 2025 interim report. NAD Global 7 EG7 highlighted the resilient performance of its classic MMO portfolio, including noting the Lord of the Rings Online, LOTRO, and Dungeons & Dragons Online DDO have returned to a growth trajectory. Despite a broader corporate revenue decline of 4.4% FX adjusted, the Daybreak Games company segment, which houses Standing Stone Games, developer for LOTRO and DDO, emerged as a primary driver of stability for the group. So, LOTRO and DDO key performance highlights. The report singles out LOTRO and DDO as core franchises that demonstrate significant momentum throughout 2025. Positive growth trend. Both titles, alongside the DC Universal Online, were noted as demonstrating growth in 2025. This is a significant pivot from previous years where the titles were often described as stable or mature legacy products. So another 2025 scene sounds like it was a good year for Standing Stone Games. Expansion impact. The launch of the latest expansion, Lord of the Rings Online, in Q4 2025 was cited as a major factor in driving increased player activity and revenue during the final quarter of the year. Award recognition. In a rare nod to gaming media, and the report explicitly mentioned that The Lord of the Rings Online was awarded the Best Classic MMO of the Year in 2025. A sentiment EG7 believes reflects the game's ongoing relevance and high player engagement. As for the 2026 outlook, the management noted that both DDO and LOTRO have begun 2026 strongly, with momentum from the year-end expansions carrying over to the new fiscal year. And so then they break down the Daybreak financial figures. Because LOTRO and DDO are part of the Daybreak portfolio, their performance is reflected in the following segment figures. Net revenue growth, 11% year-over-year revenue growth in local currency. Profitability, adjusted EBITDA for Daybreak segment increased by 26%, reaching 33.4 million SEK, approximately $3.2 million US dollars for the quarter. And revenue predictability, EG7 highlighted that 79% of the group's total net revenue now comes from predictable sources, live services like LOTRO and DDO, up from 65% of the previous year. Okay. And then they gave the final ones. I will say that for fans of Middle-earth and of Eberron, the Q4 report is a vote of confidence. By categorizing those games as growth titles rather than maintenance titles, EG7 has continued investment and a healthy future in these long-running MMOs. And of course, that article was written by Draculeta.
It feels pretty good.
So the financials seem to be on a reasonable level at the moment. So let's go into our store sales. Cinders, what's on sale this week?
On sale this week, you can go ever on and get 25% off of select XP boosts, enhanced XP supply, 100% mark acquisition boosts through February 26th. And you can also, with the weekly coupon, get a 20% mount speed, I'm assuming boost of some sort, with the coupon code like the wind, no spaces, also through February 26th. And
Yeah.
we have confirmed the XP boosts and supplies. Some of them do affect the rate in which you acquire points on the rewards track. So, could be beneficial.
Okay. And that's it for our store sales. So, do we have something for reminiscing about
You
Krista
guys,
or is
have you guys
this?
contemplated about your cloaks and
Didn't I
thought
answer
about what
that one
your
last
favorite?
week?
Well, was Cinders here last week?
Oh, yeah, sorry. Cinders wasn't here last week. You are correct.
I was not here last week. I'm gonna have to go dig into my cosmetic storage and discover my most beautiful cloak. But I can guarantee it's been dyed Shire Plum to add to its beauty.
Yeah. What makes me kind of upset about this one is it has like Shire Plum like coloring in it.
No, it
So
does
then,
not. It's
oh,
not
thank
bright
goodness.
enough.
Okay, good.
It is not bright
I will
enough.
take your expert advice on Shire Plum now.
It looks like some form of violet is in there.
Yes, that would be more purple than pink.
Oh, thank goodness. But yeah, okay. So yeah, curious about what you think, because out of all the cloaks that I've got, this one was the one that I felt was the most striking.
Definitely is the most striking. I'm not sure that I would have used the word beautiful for it. Definitely striking. Definitely
Yeah.
striking. And I don't know. It looks cool, and I especially like. Okay, the little eyeball thing kind of looks like a nose when you look at it,
Oh, great.
and
Or
the
you say, look,
elbows look
at
kind of
something.
like eyeballs. Do you see that?
So it looks kind of like a really kind of stylized wolf almost.
Almost, except it doesn't have the rest of the head and the ears.
What,
No, the ears are like
a
really
wolf with a
tall.
smiley
There's
face?
really tall ears.
Okay, hang on. Let me see if I can. Oh.
If you're looking at the flames, below the flames, above the nose are the eyes, then those two big horn things could be ears.
No, no, no. So the eye shape under the flames is the nose. And then the elbows on your character, that darker marking, those are the eyeballs.
Well, you're just crazy, is what I think. What the explanation is there.
I think I need to draw what I'm looking at for you. Hang on. We can continue with the podcast. I'm gonna see if I can edit this to show what I'm seeing.
All right. Well then, Krista, what were you up to when you were not drawing wolf faces on your cloak?
Sure, spent some time engaging in an activity I haven't engaged in a long time in Lord of the Rings, and that was scavenging the landscape for ore. And so I collected a bunch of ore and mined it and processed it. And then I did a little venturing around Umbar and killed some stuff. And I was proud to report by the end of all my endeavors, I still had inventory spaces available. And that's incredibly unusual for me in LOTRO. So I usually celebrate that fact. And then I got to some hell diving this week as well. I had a bunch of shenanigans there. It was a lot of fun. And then I played a little bit of ESO and a little bit of Starship EVO. So it was a productive gaming week. Cinders, what were you up to?
I did not do hardly any gaming, but I did get the new Animal Crossing New Horizons update and pulled a bunch of weeds on my island. But the new update, I'm really excited to play that part of it and decorate my hotel for all of the visitors that theoretically could come to my island. I was introduced to the Infinite Archive today. I did 3 cycles with Pine Leaf, and then we got trounced on the 4th. And I should phrase, we did 1 cycle, got trounced on the 2nd, and then we restarted and made it 3 cycles. So 3 consecutive cycles and got trounced. And then I played LOTRO this evening as kind of a little pop-up. just a couple hours ago with Pine Leaf, Looney, Finn, and Ost. And it might have involved jailbreaks, refuse piles, and lots of slaying. But the refuse pile, I can't guarantee that's really what we jumped into. Yeah, the graphics were so low on my monitor, I couldn't tell what we landed in. It's just a pile of stuff.
You're probably best not to know.
I think I don't want to know, but we can theorize, given where it was, that it was probably a refuse pile.
The pixel fell into a pool of 3 pixels.
And Looney and Ost followed me right off the cliff into the refuse pile. And when we landed, one of them goes, Piley would be screaming right about now. I was like, well, yeah, probably. It was the very crunchy route down. But we got down and out.
Was that the one where I decided that my best route was to port to town and then take a horse back to the rescue?
Nope. That was the one just before you popped into voice chat to join us.
Okay. Okay.
The comment was made, and then Piley promptly popped into voice chat as we were trying to determine whether it was really a refuse pile we had landed in or not.
Okay.
And then we went on a jailbreak. So we did rescue all the thralls, and then proceeded to. We were all going to hop up and ride out, and then remembered we had a hunter with us. And as we were trying to ask our hunter to please port us somewhere, he took off riding. So we all started following him, and then he got dismounted. So I jumped down to help him, and he's running. And I mean, we're dragging every mob with us as we're running down the line. Finally get to the end of the thing. And we're running around, and so it's just me and Oz down there. I'm just following Oz, trying to catch up with him because I was outside the leafy feet, right? So I'm using my little charge button, my guardian, just racing along. I'm like, okay, you can mount up as soon as you get out of combat. He's like, I can't get out of combat. We kept running it, so we made it past all the Orcakai, and then we started picking up the mobs that were on the other part as we went, just the regular landscape mobs. Yeah, it was humorous, but we did manage to get right where we were going, which was nice. So, yeah, that was our fun little adventure this afternoon. We did get done with what we wanted to, and then I had to go get my kid from the school before the podcast. So it worked out perfectly for what we needed to accomplish.
Okay.
How was your week, Pine Leaf?
All right. Well, my warden worked to silence a song this week, so
Nice.
yeah. And now I'm at a very awkward position where I last logged off my warden right at the point between the penultimate chapter and the final chapter. So I'm at this location that's through a ton of names and stuff like this. So I want to make sure that I get to the next stage of the storyline. Now I'm about to go to the storyline where your character does all sorts of weird stuff. Did you know how the final chapter goes in the Song of Ways and Wind, where you have all that weird stuff that you got to do, and all these instances, and all this session play, and all that stuff that you. I don't think it's technically session play, but anyway, it's definitely not normal of the road play where you could just hop out, take your character somewhere else, and then jump back into it or anything like that. So
yeah,
I'm gonna have some. So I'm hoping that I get through all of that before I need to take my warden anywhere else. In DDO, my dragon disciple hunted for a needle in a haystack, meaning that I'm in the latter parts of the Feywild area of DDO.
Yeah.
So I think I got one more dungeon to do there, and then I will be finished with the Feywild.
Nice.
Then yes. And in ESO, I gained a better understanding of a lot of places where I don't normally go. So on Sunday, I was in Cyrodiil of all places.
What?
Yeah.
Okay, tell me more.
All right. Because so I decided that I needed transmutation crystals. So I decided to join the Sunday activities. So we were going all over the place, flipping keeps, and
Nice.
you know, and things like that, and doing the various quests on there. And of course, we were playing Daggerfall Covenant, and the entire map was like the time that we went in. We were where we were when we went in the previous week to look at all those dolmens.
Yeah.
Yeah, so while we were, so just as then, the entire map was controlled by the Ebenar Pact.
Nice.
Yeah, so we went around there trying to see how much we can get away with doing, trying to flip keeps and then getting out as quickly as possible because we knew that half a second later the Ebenar Pact would be coming back in to storm it through.
Yeah.
Mm, so we managed to get well enough. I think I got 10 boxes of worthiness in there. So I just spent the week in opening them up. So now I have a decent number of transmute crystals. So if I ever be needing any, then I should be able to have them for it. And then, as Cinders discussed there, we went to the Infinite Archive, and I had done a couple of Infinite Archives runs because somehow I had done an Infinite Archive run, I think on Monday, on early Monday or something like that.
Mhm.
And I thought, oh, there is an achievement for going through a certain number of rounds. I'm trying to remember which ones they are, stages. So going through a certain number of stages with a solo. And I mean solo, and no companion and no one else anything there. So I thought, okay, I will do this. And it turned out that whatever I scored in that, because not too many people do Infinite Archive solo, it was actually enough in order to get on the leaderboard. So the following day, hey, congratulations, here's your reward for finishing, for being in the top 500 on the leaderboard. So that's a
Yeah.
little bit of a surprise on there. I mean, there's no way I'm ever going to get on the board for the duo version, but I did manage to get onto there for that. I did run a little bit more, so I'm beginning to understand what makes the Infinite Archive ticks, which meant that I was able to know enough of that so I could at least help Cinders when we went in today. Yeah, I hope I didn't get everything completely wrong when I was talking about that.
I don't think so.
Right. So,
I mean, it made
and
sense
I
to
have a
me.
feeling, yeah, I have a feeling last week I wouldn't have been able to help you at all in there. So
Yeah.
I've gotten better in there, and hopefully I didn't traumatize Cinders in our attempt in there. We did, as she said, get through 3 full cycles, and then the first two stages of the fourth cycle in there. It'd be
Yeah.
nice though to someday be able to complete an arc. Actually, I did complete an arc, and that's because I did join a guild member in going through the Infinite Archive. I think it was just before the event shut down, so it probably would have been on Tuesday.
Yeah.
And she's a lot better on the Infinite Archive than I am. So we managed to get through 2 cycles, I think it was. Actually, no, I think we got killed by the second by the second end of cycle boss in there. I think was able to do it, but we did manage. Oh, no, it's a not cycle. It
The
was the
arcs.
arc. Yeah, yeah. So we managed to get to the second arc boss, which means I finally finished that intro quest. Of course, that intro quest turns into a daily after you finish the intro quest, but that's an entirely different matter.
Yeah.
So, so yes. So I did manage to finally get through an entire arc for the first time, and that was with with help of her. So that worked out well. So I got to know the Infinite Archive a lot better than I do now. I don't know it perfectly, and some of those bosses, of course, I get in there, they just slap you silly. Essentially, it looks like I can get through it until you get to that boss that is going to kick you over the goalpost. And since half of the bosses, at least, are from dungeons, and more than half the dungeons are from DLCs, and the DLC bosses are really rough. And one time I know I went in there was a dragon there, and it says, boom! Oh well. That's what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. Yeah, and then I today we did a little bit of Imperial City, and this time we were on the Evanart Pact characters.
Leaf, I am so impressed with you going out and doing things that you really have been resistant to. Cyrodiil, Imperial City, you hate the Infinite Archive. Like,
Yes.
it's
I
impressive.
went
And
through
you've done all 3 in a week and you're still just fine. I'm proud of you.
Yes, I'm mad at yes, and I'm still
You don't seem
yes,
too traumatized by it either. So,
right. In fact, some of these sometimes I wonder if the trials are traumatizing me. Although this week we did go through, I think it was like way at the beginning of the week. No, actually I think it was last week where we had gone through a trial in there that was the mechanics hole, so sort of a dwarven stronghold, and so it was all mechanized monsters. The foundry. I can't remember what it was, but anyway, it was an old dwarven stronghold, and in the old dwarves, and there it was all about mechanization and stuff like that. So very very steampunkish in those particular type of places. So you're fighting metal contraptions and all of that all throughout there. And when we tried it on veteran a couple weeks ago, and we could not get past the first boss. It was like one of the most traumatizing battles I ever had. So we went into the foundry today, no, on yesterday, and this was on normal. And there are some things in there that were really, really rough and confusing, but we did survive and finish the thing, which is a step in the right direction in there. So that was another one. Returning to that place was crazy. And anyway, that's it for my week in gaming.
nice.
If you have any comments, such as wanting to tell us what your favorite cloak is, you could send that feedback to podcast at lotraplayers.com, or you could give a comment in the YouTube or comment on our site or to the show notes. And let's see anything else in here. Oh yes, the Players Alliance has 2 shows on Saturday, 8 p.m. U.S. time. We have Loach Players News and re-record DDO Players News when Drac is available. You can join to our shows at lotraplayers.com/live. And that's all for tonight. Then this is Piney Needles reminding you to skirmish responsibly.